Welcome and welcome back. We got a bit of a odd reveal video today, but it's a relic, and we've got ourselves also an Echo Boss, so let's talk about it. As Bodhi's booty just showed us there, today is Grimoire Day. That's right, Tier 6 Grimoire up against Culling Spree. We'll circle back to that. First, what is Grimoire gonna do? Well, it's very straightforward. You get access to all the prayer books, all the spell books. Also works as a Book of the Dead if you want to summon thralls, which that's great. That's fine. You know, the relic itself is quite simple for what it's doing. However, you may need a little bit of a PhD to like decide whether or not you're taking this relic. So let's just quickly look. Here are all of the things in the game that you probably would care about in relation to Grimoire. In Kourend, you have the Arceus spellbook. This has thralls. This has some skilling utility. This has Demon Bane. This has Special Restore as well. So, I mean, there's a lot of nice stuff over here. You've got the prayers that come from Chambers of Xeric. So the Mage Prayer, the Range Prayer, and also Preserve, making your potions last a little bit longer. So this is like a huge bonus for Kourend. In the desert, you have Ancients. In the Fremnik region, you have Lunars. Nobody cares about that. In Kandrin, you have the melee prayers. And then Asgardia, you have some like slight upgrades to the range and magic prayers. So when you're looking at this compared to something like Culling Spree, you really have to break down, you know, what sort of combat style you're using and what matters to you. Now, keep in mind there is a third relic that these two are against, so we don't know what that is yet. However, when it comes to something like the Culling Spree, why are you taking this? Well, you're mainly taking it because you want the Slayer Helm passive. Maybe a little bit because you want superiors, you want to farm out like an Imbued Heart. Maybe a little bit to make your tasks easier, maybe a little bit for like the elite clues, but I think the big thing that you're really looking to here is that Slayer Helm bonus. And keep in mind, you can get the Slayer Helm bonus elsewhere. It's a little more difficult this year though. If you're melee, you know, Moritania, you get the Black Mask. You don't have to imbue it, you just get the bonus there. That's cool. If you want to go magic or range, both of those you have to get the Black Mask of Moritania and also go Kandrin, because right now that seems to be the only way we're going to be able to imbue it. So that's a bit of a bummer, because I don't know if you're going to have that combo, especially as a ranger. And there's a potential for the Fremnik Echo item to have a Slayer Helm passive. A lot of you guys pointed this out in the reveal video for this one, that the Battle Hat did have the Slayer Helm Eye passive, so we might see that on the Fremnik Helm. They haven't told us like what the fun twist is or whatever on that one. So we'll keep that in mind. I don't think that there's a ton of you taking Fremnik, but for the ones who do, maybe that's going to help you make this decision here. And then, of course, on the Grimoire side, you know, you have those prayers. So if you're melee and you're not in Kandrin, if you're magic, you know, magic is probably the one that benefits the most from Grimoire, just because there's so much stuff that you're picking up here. And it just makes it a lot easier for you in terms of like not having to work in certain regions. You know, the Ancient Spellbook in particular, I know is like a big one for a lot of people. And you don't always want to take Desert as a mage because it doesn't really offer you that much. You know, you have the Leviathan, which is fine for like farming out the Desert Treasure 2 stuff, except you already have Bar Dorvis because we're starting in Barlamore. And the raid, you know, you can get a shadow from any of the raids now, so you don't really have that need in the desert either. So if you want to do something around Ancients, I know this is a big reason a lot of people took this the last time. Likewise with the Arceus Spellbook. Now, the Arceus Spellbook does have Demon Bane. I know there is a lot of concern around how are we going to get Demon Bane without Mythalin, because we can't get the Tormented Synapses for the Demon Bane weapons. Now, in the post, they have said that Demon Bane's taken care of, which makes me think we may not actually need this spellbook for Demon Bane. But if that ends up not being true, then man, this gets a lot of value, probably for all three styles, because where else are you going to get Demon Bane? You know what I mean? So yeah, I mean, this is a good pickup as well for the Arceus Spellbook, but I think primarily it's like you're looking for the ancient spells on the magic side of things. For ranged, yeah, the prayers are going to be really good, primarily the one that comes from Chambers, and you may not want to go to Kourend just for this prayer. I mean, there's a couple other options for range. It's probably not your strongest pick, though. So really, Grimoire is something that kind of helps you balance out the rest of your build, whereas Culling Spree is maybe your build already incorporates what you want in terms of the offensive, like prayers and spellbooks, and so it's just giving you that passive Slayer Helm buff. And also keep in mind, we do have Reloaded, which is just the next tier, so it is possible to take both of these. If you look at this and you're like, man, I really want the Slayer Helm, and man, I really want all of these spellbooks, but I'm going like Taronwyn Wilderness. Gosh, how do you even avoid all Taronwyn Wilderness? I guess it's Garnia, maybe? I don't know. It would be hard to avoid literally everything on here, but hey, that is an option for you. Now, I know this isn't like the most straightforward looking graphic of, the reveals that we've had, so I wanted to put this a different way, make it a little easier to understand. If you have these things here for your combat styles, Slayer Relic, bad. Melee and Mauritania, bad. Range Mage and you're going Mauritania and Kandrin and something else, bad. You picked up Fremnik, the Echo Helm, whatever, it gives you the Slayer Helm passive, bad. And then on the Grimoire side, Melee probably doesn't care that much about the spellbooks. Same with range, so you're kind of looking at the prayers for those. Melee, if you have Kandrin, don't go Grimoire. If you're range and you have Kuren, don't go Grimoire. If you're magic, it's a little bit of a tougher decision because you're kind of looking at like, are you in Kuren and the desert? Do you care about ancient spells? You may not. I mean, you don't have to go ancient spells if you're magic, so there's a little more flexibility there. Sorry, Asgarnia, I know you're not represented on here, but if you have those, the prayers are cool. And maybe that weakens the decision for Grimoire, but I think a lot of people are trying to like get the absolute most out of their damage, so I don't think it's like that big of a deal. If you go as Garnia, you still may consider picking up Grimoire anyway. And like I mentioned before, there is still a third relic. So if you are like the melee Chad who's going Mauritania Kandrin as Garnia, I don't know why you're doing that, but if you are, then yeah, I mean, you don't need the other two, so maybe you're going for whatever that third one is. Which at the moment, I'm thinking, might be that like prayer-looking thing right there. I mean, this really fits in line with like, it's some sort of combat utility something. We also had the Stinky Shark Relic on the board, which was infinite food, and we had the Banana Brew, which was infinite potions. So we could see something like that in Tier 6 going up against these two. But it is time to update the board. This is where we were yesterday. It's a good news day. We got it right. I did have to, move things around one tile, but hey, we got the same tier. That's all that really matters. And of course, yesterday's reveal, we were talking about Binsman versus foraging in the bin. Here's what you guys have voted so far. I'll keep an eye on this poll for like a couple of days, see if it changes it up a little bit. But man, okay, Binsman, it's sticking around. Foraging in the bin, 1 percentage point off. There you go, Binsman, you're back. Welcome to the board. Full trash can once again. But of course, we have to talk about the Echo boss reveal too. We finally got our last one, Echo Hunllef, making a return, and here's what they had to say. Crush the Echo Hunllef boss to empower yourself with crystal energy. Be rewarded with something familiar, but what new power might this item hold? Now, I do think Echo Hunllef was probably one of my favorite Echo bosses last year, if not my top, just because you get to skip the prep phase of Gauntlet. That's like a huge benefit. That's going to save you anywhere from like 4 to 6 minutes every time you're trying to run the Gauntlet, and you're going to be running the Gauntlet if you're in Taronwyn. It's one of the two bosses, and like the Echo item has to do with crystal armor. Well, we'll talk about it here in a second. But also the mechanics with this felt like they weren't that much beyond something like a Corrupted Gauntlet, so it actually ended up being pretty good practice for the main game, which I can't say is true for all of the Echo bosses from last year. But of course, this one did come with the Crystal Blessing. It looks like that's the item that we're going to be getting again. However, they did say that there's something a little different about it. So we've got red Echo Hunllef. Well, I guess the corrupted one is red. It's a dark orange. How about that? Dark orange Hunllef, dark orange Crystal Blessing. And I looked it up. The emoji that they put on the end of that text there, it is a crystal ball emoji. And you know what? A crystal ball is like a magic item. I bet they're expanding this to magic. I don't know how, but we're going to talk about it. So just that we're all on the same page, these are the stats for crystal armor and the sort of like accuracy damage bonus that happens. So for those who aren't familiar, normally this is used with the Bow of Ferdenin, this weapon right here. You wear the crystal armor. You can see that it's got some range accuracy. The bow itself is really powerful. And then on top of all of that, it applies this additional accuracy and damage bonus to whatever you're doing. So if you've got like the crystal armor equipped, you got the bow on, you're sitting at like, I don't know, 100 ranged accuracy, 200 ranged accuracy. Then you're going to take that number times 30%. So if it's 100, it goes up to 130. If it's 200, it goes up to like 260 and change. And then same with the damage bonus. If you were going to max like a 50, then now you're going to hit like a 57. Now, that is just how it works in the main game. What we had last year with the Echo Blessing is it extended these accuracy and damage buffs to melee weapons, which I hate to say it, it feels like they might be building up a Kandarin as Garnia Taranwin route. I was so hard on this like a couple of days ago, right? Oh my god. I swear, dude. I swear. If that ends up being a thing, I'm going to be... I don't know how I'm going to feel about that. I guess you'll get Elite Void along the way, too. But this was really, really good for, like, a Crystal Warrior build. A lot of people did this for, like, a Kopish sort of build. You know, you go to the Wilderness, you come to Taranwin. The Crystal Armor isn't, like, the hardest thing to farm out. The Enhanced Weapon Seed for the Blade of Salador and the Bow of Ferdenin, that can be a little rough for people. I know people have gone, like, quite dry, even in leagues on that. But at least for the Armor Seeds, they're not so rare that you probably won't be spending that much time in there. And if you had, like, the Slayer Helm, you could skip making the Helm side of this because they stack together. So it just meant you could get a really, really strong melee build together because this accuracy and damage bonus, I think it pretty much always applies after whatever else you've got going on. And so you would just have, like, a huge increase in both of those things. So you're basically always hitting with melee and you're always hitting a lot. Now, if they did try to extend this to Magic, my initial thought was, you know what? They just give us these bonuses. That's cool. The problem is Crystal Armor kind of sucks for Magic. Like, you have all of this negative accuracy here. There's no magic percentage, and both of those stats are really, really important for Magic. So they probably can't just straight give us these bonuses. Now, they could give the Crystal Blessing like a magic stat. That's always a possibility. The problem, I think, if they gave just the Blessing the stat is people wouldn't use the Crystal Armor, which seems a little weird. They could go that route, but I also wonder if maybe they could make it so like equipping this Blessing flips the negative stat side of this. I don't know if that means, you know, not having enough, like not having any damage bonus would be detrimental just because it's so important. But keep in mind, for magic percent, you know, magic accuracy, these are essentially like the end game armors you would normally farm out. And yeah, you have Ancestral in Karen, but Chambers of Xeric kind of sucks when it comes to like trying to farm out a full set of this stuff. Even with the tweak to Prayer Scrolls, like you're not guaranteed the purple, and you're not guaranteed to get a unique piece of this either. So you could be a unlucky guy running around with like 6 Ancestral hats. It's not going to feel that great. And same with like the Desert Treasure 2 robes. I know I've complained about this in like the area reviews. Farming these things out, it's the same problem. They're very, very rare, and you're not guaranteed to get a new piece. So if you're the unlucky guy running around with 6 of these like Virtus hats or whatever you want to call it, Virtus masks, it feels bad. The thing that I like about the Crystal Armor is you just get the seeds so you can make it, right? You don't have to like get specific pieces of it. So that would help in terms of farming the armor. It's just, it doesn't give accuracy or damage percentage. So that's the big question mark here. Now, the other thing I wanted to kind of point out is the way that the Shadow works today, it 3x's your accuracy and damage stats, and I don't know how this would play together. It makes me wonder, like, would this be a nightmare to balance? Although there is an innate cap of 100% magic damage for the Shadow's, like, 3x thing. Normally, you can't hit this in the main game. You can only hit it if you're in Tombs of Amasket. But that does make me think, you know, maybe there's a possibility that the way that this interacts, it does let you hit the cap on the Shadow outside of the tombs. And, I mean, yeah, that would still be like the Year of the Shadow. That might hurt something like Kandarin, which has kind of like an elemental sounding thing going on. But that would feel really good for Magic. I don't know, though. The problem is it uses those existing stats. So Crystal Armor, because it sucks, it actually 3x's negative. So you would get minus 120 accuracy if it's just the base armor. So they would have to do something with that. I just don't know how they implement that. Like, I don't know if it's something where they can just flip the stats or add stats to Crystal Armor if you equip the thing. Do they do that with other stuff in the game? I don't think there's been any instances of that. Although maybe you, like, when you get this, you can upgrade the armor or something, kind of like how you upgrade treads by adding things into it. I don't know. It's also entirely possible that I'm just hopeful that I don't have to grind out magic armor, because I would really enjoy doing a magic build, and I hate the armor in this game. Because, man, Chambers, Desert Treasure 2 bosses, oh, it's bad. You know it's bad, I know it's bad, the devs know it's bad, everybody knows it's bad. But I could be totally off base. Yeah, maybe I'm, like, super biased, that's just what I want. They could mean that there's some sort of, like, mystical effect on the Blessing, and that may not even have to do with magic. I mean, They could have it apply like elemental weakness, since we've seen a lot of that kind of littered around in these echo reveals. They could have it have like some sort of burn effect on there, though they probably would have said burn if it was going to be that. Or they could just add some sort of like passive something on here that's not style specific, you know. Maybe it's got that execute that I was guessing on for the Mauritania one. That would be weird here, but like it could, right? You know, it could be an effect sort of like that. Maybe it adds some sort of passive lifesteal. I mean, who knows, right? So still a great unknown for us. A lot of speculation. We'll just have to see. Hopefully it's soon, because we're now out of echo bosses. We're out of areas. So like, what are they going to start giving us for these second reveals? We do still have more relics to go, but like, come on. Come on. Give us the stats. Well, what are these things doing? Let us plan. Anyway, all right, that's the end for the reveals today. I am going to be covering all of them, so make sure to subscribe if you want to see those. I also have a League's Progress series that you've heard me mention every single video. That's planned when the League starts up here in a couple of weeks. And the Discord is linked down below in the description, so if you have better ideas for how on earth they're going to like tweak this Crystal Blessing and add something to it, then definitely let me know there. But with that, thanks for watching, and I will catch you in the next one.